This morning, yeah, I did.
I'm driving down there tonight. Yeah, my wife's there.
It's not to point fingers. It's not a couple ones, yeah. They could be your neighbors.
They could be. You guys from Imperial Beach?
Yeah, right next to Imperial Beach.
Where in Imperial Beach?
Thermal Avenue.
Okay. We're on Seacoast Boulevard. We're right on that little strip at the end. The farthest south structures in the United States.
Nice down there though, isn't it?
Hey, I stand in front of my window and there's the ocean like right there making waves. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, you guys been down there for a while?
Yeah, we've been renting for about a year and a half now. My wife used to live down there. She wanted to do it again. I said, so then rent it.
So you're renting there and you rented out your house in
No,
Encinitas?
that's just.
So that's your
I was there today working, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I always come up there like once or twice a week. Once to take care of mom, and the other time to work, get my stuff done, and then I go back outside.
Mom's okay?
Mom's getting old.
Yeah.
You know,
We're all getting old except for Leslie.
All right. No, Leslie never does.
All right, we will talk about that.
Yeah.
I forgot he was from Imperial Beach.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make sure I'll go. Okay.
I popped it again, but I don't know
Okay.
if the guy keeps on popping it.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you.
And then when we get the food, we'll tell you. Go ahead.
Let me know when you're ready. Good. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to San Diego Inventors Forum. I know we have a couple of new folks here. It is kind of a early month, and by that I mean, when the first of the month falls a little earlier, and now we're here on the 8th, but it's technically the second Thursday of the month. So generally that confuses people, so we may have a few people coming in a little bit later when they realize the meeting's not going to be next week, it's this week. We have a pretty good full schedule for tonight. Our guest presenter is Judith Balin, talking about how to create a perfect pitch. So we're going to jump probably quickly into things, but before we do that, over down here where the pencils are, there's a brainstorming worksheet that you will need that for this evening's presentation. So please be sure to pick one up if you need something to write with. There are pencils there. There are also 2 additional worksheets from the couple of previous presentations. There are a few leftover handouts there. If you were not here and did not get one, you are free to take one of those as well. The one you need for tonight, though, especially is this one here. The others are for previous sessions. And Judith has some information here about herself, and her company that she'll talk you through a little bit later. We will do, after Judith's presentation, we will have a quick brainstorming breakout session. I apologize, some of our snacks are a little bit late tonight. Again, it's kind of a hectic evening. So when we do that breakout session, you may want to head back out and grab a little something if you didn't get something already. So, Judith, come on up.
Okay.
Take care of all the other things at the end now. So it's not as much- You take it up yourself. I'll get the other one ready.
Okay. So, some of you probably know me from years and years ago. I have a product that I've been working on like forever, like for 14 years. And this past spring, I actually went through an incubator program. It used to be with HeraHubs. Now it's something called Stella Labs. And one of the things, a lot of it was marketing. You probably know that my background is marketing, so I knew a lot of that. But what I didn't ever have was the experience of putting together a pitch for my product that I had created. So that was the most valuable part of the program for me. And I did a presentation along with other people at Sony headquarters a few weeks back, where I actually did the pitch. And I thought it would be helpful when Leslie asked me if I would speak to you. I was thinking about what I would speak on, and this seemed like the most appropriate thing for me to speak on. So that's where I am.
Good.
So,
You're up and go.
all right, and let's see, we've got right here. Okay, I'm used to my clicker. I didn't bring my clicker. So here's my pitch. I'll run through it, and then we're going to talk about the parts and pieces of it. I'm Judith Ballion, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about Alpha Vibe. Mindfulness. It's everywhere. From boardrooms to yoga studios, people are talking about mindfulness and practicing it to decrease stress, enhance creativity, and even be more healthy. There's science behind that. Research has shown that mindfulness can actually help with a lot of common ailments. Now, you can find a lot of books about mindfulness. You can find online gurus that'll tell you all about mindfulness. There's one problem. How do you actually remember to be mindful? That's where my product comes in. Alpha Vibe is a patented bracelet that uses gentle vibration and light to remind you to be aware of what you're thinking. It vibrates at random, reminding you to be aware of what you're thinking and to correct your thoughts if you're thinking negatively. It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't track anything. You don't need your cell phone. It's a standalone product that you can use throughout your day. So what's the market for mindfulness? The mindfulness market is expected to be $1.1 billion, and the total alternative care market is $15.1 billion. The self-improvement market, $13 billion. So there's quite a chunk of change out there. We're going after the yoga, meditation, mindfulness community, which is estimated to be 36 million people. We figure if we can capture 1.5% of that, we'll have over 500,000 sales. Now there are lots of, what's the competition? There are lots of affirmation bracelets out there, but all they are is really pretty jewelry. They say nice things, but they're just static. They don't actually prompt you to remember what you're thinking. So the other competition, you could consider the apps like Calm. Maybe a lot of you have Calm, I have Calm, or Headspace, but they're cell phone based, and you have to have your cell phone with you. With Alpha Vibe, you're not tied to your cell phone. It's actually the perfect complement to these apps. Now, you could program your cell phone to go off every 15 minutes, but would you really want it to do that? Smartphones are part of our problem, right? Drive us crazy? That's why Alpha Vibe, which is totally independent from cell phones, is a great alternative. So let me tell you about our team. I'm Judith Ballion. I have over 20 years in corporate sales and marketing and technology products. My partner, Dr. Edward Ballion, is a market research expert and has done research for Fortune 500 companies. Sean Kelly is our technical wizard who actually has created prototypes for companies like ours for over 15 years. Going forward, we're going to be working with a Santee-based contract manufacturer called Pathway. They are an ISO 9000 certified medical device company. Our research has shown us that people expect to learn about the product on Facebook and Instagram, and they expect to be able to buy it on Amazon. So that's the tack we're taking. Affiliate sales may also be a possibility. So what's next for us? Well, the final design for manufacturing, the final mold and manufacturing cost estimates. Then I'll be able to put together the rest of the business plan and seek angel investors. And I have several people already interested, I'm proud to say. Alpha Vibe, whether you use it to stay mindful, to remember what you're thinking, or just to take a deep breath and let go of stress. Alpha Vibe will keep you focused. Alpha Vibe, it's the Fitbit for your mind. So that was my presentation that I did at Sony headquarters. So it was really interesting when we put together this whole presentation. We had a woman that worked with us from UCSD, and she has worked with companies and does new companies doing these pitches for years. So we had the advantage of working with her. So I put together a little PowerPoint, and it goes along with the handout that shows you the different parts of the presentation, the pitch presentation that I just did. Now you're going to have other slides. You know, maybe you already know how much you're going to ask for, but this will kind of get you started. And I know when I finished my first draft of this, I felt really empowered. So if you're going to have to do that in the future, I hope this will be helpful. And stop me along the way if you want to ask questions. So, tips for a successful pitch. First of all, you want to keep it really simple. You know, in essence, it's kind of like when we do lead generation in marketing, when I work with my clients and we do lead generation pieces or posts on Facebook. You want to tell people just enough so that they'll take it to the next step. They'll ask you to go to the next step. So you want to keep it simple. You want to keep the slides really simple, using graphics as opposed to a lot of text. People get distracted when they have to read bullet points. So you want to use large fonts and few words. You want to use images to tell your story. And you want to tell a story. We've all got a story about our products, how we came up with the idea, what they're used for, the problem they're going to solve. You want to keep it short. And when you get to the point where you're telling everybody what a great deal it is, don't overestimate the potential, because investors can see right through that. And ask for the money. Maybe that's the hardest thing to do, but you want to ask for the money. So, the cover slide, you noticed on mine, I had my logo, business name, tagline. My tagline is, it's the Fitbit for your mind. If you can come up with a short, snappy tagline that says exactly what your product is and something that people can relate to, that's gold. You're going to want your contact information, a picture of your product, great image for the background if you have it. You can find these images everywhere and they're cheap. You don't have to get a free image off the internet. They're all copyrighted anyway. If you go to 123rf.com or iStock, they're a little pricier on iStock. Sometimes you can find a free one on a site like Pixabay or Pexels, but it's worth paying the $3 or $4 that you'd have to pay on 123RF. That's where I found that great picture of the people leaning back and looking all calm and unstressed. Whoops. Okay, so you want to illustrate the problem. That's what I tried to do with mine. I used the problem, which is that people have all of this knowledge about mindfulness, about affirmations, about intentions, but the problem is, how do they remember to actually say their affirmations, to keep their intentions in mind, to be mindful? So illustrate the problem as succinctly as you can that your device or your product solves. You want to use simple backup stats and facts. And if you can put them in a pie chart, you can throw them, if all you've got is the raw stats, you can throw them in Excel and use the chart wizard and create a bar chart or a pie chart, because that's going to really illustrate rather than just numbers on the screen. You want to talk about why your solution is right now. Why does the problem that you're solving require a solution now? Now, here comes your product. You're going to solve the problem. You're going to tell about your product. You may have a little video that you can actually embed in the PowerPoint that will show off your product and exactly what it does. What are the benefits of your product? Now, I also teach marketing in college, a couple of 3 colleges. One thing, and I bet some of you know the difference between features and benefits. Anybody want to tell me? Okay.
The feature is what your product does. The benefit is what the customer gets.
Right. It's what the customer gets out of using your product. And that's what you want to focus on. My bracelet's flashing. So you want to tell people what's in it for them, rather than focus on the Velcro bracelet that I've got that the bracelet is attached to. Okay, so then you're going to talk about the opportunity. So if you're dealing with angel investors, the difference between, anybody know the difference between venture capitalists and angel investors?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Pete.
Venture capitalists want to own your soul, and angel investors really want to help.
That's right. Great answer. Absolutely. So you want to tell them how big the opportunity is. What's the potential? I laid that out in numbers as best I could. Your target market. Okay, who are you selling this to? If you have a medical device, maybe it's orthopedic surgeons. If you have a technology product, who's actually going to buy it? Who's going to be the end user? If you've got different revenue streams, then you can talk about different segments, different market segments who might be purchasing your product. We talked about it. Provide charts and diagrams, and talk money. How much money are we talking about that you think you can actually reasonably sell of this product? What research have you performed? We did use SurveyMonkey and did research. That's how we found out where people were going to expect to find out about it, where they would expect to buy it, what percentage of people were interested, and you find out some interesting things.
Where did you do your SurveyMonkey?
I had my own list. I had it on Facebook, and I had other lists that I used. Yeah.
So you emailed it?
I emailed it. I also put it on Facebook. Other people forwarded it. And of course, the more responses you can get, the better.
How many surveys did you get? What amount of time?
It was about 3 weeks, and we got, I believe, 160 back of the target market.
And
what's a valid test market?
I wish my husband were here. He's a statistician. He felt like, for our purposes, 160 was a pretty good test. Now, the other thing is, you can, and I didn't dip into this, how you can actually you can actually buy survey responses. You can say, okay, this is your target market, and you can actually get people to respond. But there are companies that will actually do that. Like, for example, if I wanted to survey yoga people, you know, I could find one of these companies, and they could guarantee me that they would have, they would get me back 300 surveys of yoga practitioners, women yoga practitioners of the age 25 to 50. I know that you can do that. I didn't do that. I sent it out there through Facebook and Instagram. But if you're really interested in market research, I should have brought his cards. Talk to my husband. He's a market research professor, and he's done market research for FTD, Scripps Hospital, Ford, GM. So he knows his stuff. Survey research is his specialty. So if you have done research, so much the better. And it's really interesting what you find out. I found out that 65% of the people that that we surveyed would be interested in my product. But 85% of the people said they'd buy it for a gift for somebody else. It's like, well, I don't need it, but I know somebody who does. It's really interesting what you can find out. We also asked some things like, do you practice mindfulness? What do you use to remember to be mindful? So we had, I think, 15 questions on the survey. And SurveyMonkey is cheap to use. Designing the survey can be a little bit of a challenge because you really want to ask the right questions. You want to ask them in the right way. And then you can cross-reference them as well. So then you want to talk about the business model. And that's simply, how are you going to make money? Now remember, this is not the be-all and end-all. I'm getting you guys started. So then the competition. So who are your competitors? And you want to be honest about who's really out there. And how are you better than they are? Why is your solution better than the competitors? Then you want to talk about what they call your bench strength. And you probably heard that term. Who are you? What kind of background do you have that makes you credible? And who's on your team? And where have they come from? I have a very small team. Maybe some of you have larger teams. And you want to highlight your past successes, if you can. If you've brought other products to market, or if you have a long history or a lot of expertise in the area that your product falls into, that adds to your credibility. You're selling yourself as well as your product, in essence. And what's your go-to-market strategy? How are you going to get it out there? If you have a very specific product, like a medical device, then you're probably going to need to go to some industry trade shows. Maybe you're going to need to advertise in an industry journal. It's going to vary with whatever it is that you have. So how will people learn about it? Where will they buy it? What channels are you going to use? What distribution channels? Are you going to go direct to consumer? Are you going to go through distributors? Do you have enough margin to go through distributors? Because you're probably going to need to keystone it. In other words, you're going to have to it's going to have to sell for 4 times what you can make it for. Generally, that's the formula. Are you going to sell it through affiliate sales? Then what's your ask? How much have you personally invested in it? I've invested about $100,000 in my product over 14 years and a whole lot of sweat labor. What are the sources of your investments? Who's put money into it? What are you asking, angel versus VC? The people that want to own your soul, as Pete says. Maybe you're asking for introductions to key players. Or maybe you're asking, it's not always money. Maybe you're asking for connections with influencers. If you have a consumer product, that can be big. Actually, even with a non-commercial product, like a medical device. I keep coming back to that because so many people in SDIF have medical devices. So, you want to end strong. You kind of want to sum up what you've told them and really end with a bang. Reinforce your value proposition, which is what people are going to get out of this, why they would buy it, and restate your tagline. Again, you've got a short, snappy tagline. So, that's basically it. If you're asking for money, obviously you're going to have the backup business plan with all your charts and figures that are going to go with it. I'm not there yet because I don't have the costs for the product. So you're going to adapt it basically to meet your needs and your product or service. Now, I prepared this PowerPoint like so. That's kind of like a fill in the blank, draw your pictures. That's how I started out. I was actually drawing pictures. And I will send a PDF of this to anybody who wants to give me your business card. Leslie couldn't print it out because it's so paper intensive. It's basically what you have there on your sheet, on your handout, and I'd be delighted to send this to any of you. And I also do marketing for inventors. I do everything from messaging to simple websites to constant contact email setup. So I'd love to work with you if you need help along those lines. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. So what's on your arm is a prototype?
Pardon?
What you have on your arm is a prototype?
It is.
Okay, and so when you said you pitched to Sony?
No, at Sony.
Oh, okay.
It was the graduation for the incubator group that I was in. No, I did not pitch it to Sony.
But you did do a pitch using that.
I did do a pitch. I did do the same pitch that I did at the beginning.
Okay. Can I ask another question? Sorry. So I didn't see anything on there like specifications. So obviously I saw that it flashed. Does it vibrate?
It vibrates.
And it's got
Yeah.
a battery that lasts a certain amount of time that you replace, etc.
That's correct.
You plug it in, or okay.
No. It's a battery.
Okay.
It'll last probably at least 3 months.
So did you make enough prototypes that you were able to test market them on actual people?
No. I have 4 or 5, and so we've been kind of sharing those, but that'll be next. David, and David was my patent attorney.
Don't tell him that. I was just going to ask a question. I was going to say, is it all protected under patents?
It is all protected under patents, thanks to David Waller. Took us how many months to get the patent?
It wasn't too long and it wasn't too short. It was kind of in the middle.
How long?
Huh?
How long?
I don't recall specifically. The shortest one I think I've gotten so far from filing to allowance was 9 months. I only know now of one other that got it in 8, so that was pretty good. And then the longest, I've had one biopharmaceutical out there for 10 years, 12 years.
62 months, gang.
That's how long yours took?
We ran into some crazy stuff. Like there was a patent out there for something like this, but it was to reinforce post-hypnotic suggestions from hypnotists, and so we had to specifically go back in and say it was not for that.
Yeah.
Although I'd sure sell it.
We spent a lot of time developing the theories behind how the device was going to work and operate for the individual using it, because we had known that there were other similar devices out there, and I needed to get that into the specification so we could use it when the examiner brought those to our attention. And the one that she was talking about was the psychiatrist or psychologist had to implant something into your head first before they could then activate it. Hers does not have any implantation element, so.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that when David wrote the patent, the actual technology can be more than just a bracelet. It could be a pyramid that sits on your desk. Now, obviously, that's not going to vibrate, but imagine having just a little glass ornament on your desk that every so often it would flash, and you'd take a deep breath, or you'd get up and stretch, or you'd remember to send good vibes to your son in Afghanistan, like I did. So I have.
Snapping the rubber band is not enough.
You know what? You forget it's there. It's like the string that's tied around your finger. At least I do. I don't know about the rest of you, but yeah. But this vibrates just real gently, so it's real private too. If you're in a meeting, nobody's going to know.
Can you turn the flash off and just have it
You
vibrate?
can't turn the flash off, but it's so light that nobody's going to see it. And actually, we wound up having to say yes, it had to have the flash. That was part of getting the patent through. Remember, David?
Yeah, there were certain aspects that we had to put into the claims to get around certain prior art that was already out there, or at least distinguish it significantly so the examiner felt comfortable giving allowance for the claims.
Did you ever meet personally with the examiner, or just was it all on paper?
No, I didn't meet personally, but I do talk with them directly. I call them on the phone and communicate with them. It's good to build a personal relationship with them because you usually come back to them every once in a while. And if you're really nice and cooperative and work with them, they always remember you. Because everybody else who does it, I guess, seems to think it's adversarial. So when they start talking with the examiner, they always think the examiner's trying to do something to them. And I never feel that way. I always feel like they're trying to work with me because now they actually get more money if they give you a positive result as opposed to a negative. It's a 0.25 point difference or something like that. So it works if you work with them, that everything works out nice.
But finally, we had that meeting in my office with the patent person on the phone in September 2013.
Yep. Yeah, direct communication is always best.
Yeah. And I went down different roads getting the prototype, worked with a lot of different people, and some of the people that I worked with were great. Other people, I kind of went off on tangents. I say when you invent something, boy, I don't know that I would go down that journey again, but it's almost like you got to kiss a lot of frogs, if you know that expression. Because you get people that are maybe, they're kind of what you need, but they're not exactly. Had that one with some drawings that I had. So anyway, it's really been a learning experience. I feel like I got a second master's degree doing this.
And you had to pay for it.
And I had to pay for it, a lot more than my first master's.
You said you're doing this 14 years, right? Have you ever considered just pulling a Stephen Keys and just licensing it?
Here's what I found. Most of the people in this space, they're print people. They're the gurus out there, like the Jack Canfields and all the people like that. They're not technology people. I did talk to some people from the Louise Hay company at one time, but they aren't electronics, they aren't technology people.
What about the seen on TV people?
The as seen on TV?
Yeah. What about as seen on TV? I can see them going with this.
Well, set me up and I'll talk to them.
I'll give you my card.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just didn't see. That was what I originally wanted to do. I wanted to license it.
Yeah.
But
Because it's 14 years. It's like.
it's been off and on. And interestingly enough, when I came up with this idea, there was no Fitbit. There were no wearables. And it's kind of, I think there may be some divine timing with this. I think I was way ahead of my time. Do you want to hear the story about how I came up with the idea real quick?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was volunteering at the Community Resource Thrift Store in Solana Beach, okay, with my good friend Janice, who had the store at the time. Maybe some of you have been in it. And my job, this is 2005, my job was to dig down in the bag and pull out the stuff for that we were going to hang up and sell, right? For the good of the Community Resource Center. So I'm over there and I'm doing my thing, and I reached down in the bag and there was this little green plastic child's bracelet from a carnival. And it was one of those light up bracelets, and the battery was dying on it. So it would flash erratically, just real erratically. So we could not obviously sell it. So I stuck it on my arm, and I'm driving home, and I think I was between jobs at the time because I'm one of those techno gypsies that gets laid off every time the company decides they have to cut the marketing staff. But anyway, so I'm driving home, and it's on my arm, it's kind of flashing erratically, and I got home, and I said to my husband, Ed, I said, so I got this cute little bracelet, and I'm going to use it to remember to say my affirmations, because by this time I was really big into affirmations and intentions. And I can remember, he was just standing at the other side of the room. He says, oh, I get it. He said, it's an affirmation alert. And we both just kind of looked at each other. And 14 years and $100,000 later, here we are. So that's how I came up with the idea. So.
Yeah, I think if it just vibrates and lights every 15 minutes, you can have a battery that lasts 2 years.
It's not every 15 minutes. See, that's the key. It's lasting a long time. It vibrates at random.
Oh.
And that's key. That's very key. I don't think I emphasize that. Because then you're gonna remember, oh, every 15 minutes it's gonna vibrate again. The randomness is actually, it's an awareness training tool. It actually trains you to be aware of what you're thinking. Because after a while, you're going to be aware of it. It really does work. So.
Could you make it like an average randomness, that make it like longer or shorter?
That's all programmed in. That's all programmed in. It'll vibrate at least once an hour, but no sooner than a specified amount of time. So you never know when it's going to blink. You never know when it's going to vibrate.
So I love the phrase, the Fitbit for your mind. Well, maybe Dave can answer this question. Can you do that?
No.
Not in advertising.
Slide, yeah.
Not in advertising.
Yeah, it's not a Fitbit product. You can't use it without a license to use that name.
Right.
And you want to get something catchier anyway.
Yeah.
Fitbit.
It's clever.
Big deal. Like I have one on my arm too. Call it something else, something better.
But I like it.
I was encouraged to use that by the investor people, the incubator people.
Right.
He wanted you to use what?
I was encouraged to use that by the incubator people. The Fitbit for your mind.
Oh, he's fired. He's fired. Out of there.
Fire the UCSD people.
I don't care. Fire him. He's out of there.
I would never use it in advertising.
Okay,
This is just for your pitch.
This is pitching.
Yeah.
Going back to pitches, so what's the general length, and how many minutes should
We were supposed to have 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about compressing. I think I got mine down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wow. It was really 3 minutes and 30 seconds? I'm surprised. If any of you have done public speaking and you're like me, I can't stand standing in front of people, it freaks me out. I can do pretty much anything in less than 2 minutes. Yeah.
David's going to do my next pitch.
No. How many total slides was it?
I can relate to that, same way.
How many total slides?
I'm sorry?
How many total slides did you have?
I'll pull it back up and check.
10 or 12?
Yeah, it shouldn't have more than 10.
Yeah.
And your slides shouldn't say everything. They should just be an idea that you elaborate on.
Yeah, can we go back?
Good point.
It's a total of 15.
I couldn't say it any less than that and cover everything they wanted me to cover. Well, I hope this gets you started. If you want to give me your business card, I'd be glad to send you this, and you can play with creating your own pitch draft. Okay? Thank you.
So before we go into the next part, which is the breakout and brainstorming, I just kind of want to point out a couple of things. A lot of the information that you'll use to prepare your pitch deck comes from planning. When you present and you prepare, when you prepare your business plan, a lot of this information should be in that plan. And so at this point, you're taking pieces and parts from your business plan and utilizing them for different phases and different approaches as you reach commercialization. We did a presentation a couple of months ago on the basics of a business plan, and a lot of this basic information here was presented in that business plan presentation. So if you go back and you really think about how do I strategically plan and prepare for presenting in front of an incubator or another program like an accelerator who might provide some sort of assistance to you. How do I prepare and provide a slide deck and information to present to potential team members? Because the reality is you're not going to get your product to commercialization by yourself. You're going to need a team of folks to help you in various areas depending on where your strengths and weaknesses are. And to engage with those individuals, in order to get them to be on board, you need to also be prepared. And again, some of this same information is going to be useful to engage them and get them excited about wanting to be on your team. Whether that's investing money, time, resources, effort, or building those connections with other folks. You want to make it compelling for them, and a pitch deck will do that. Again, coming from preparing through your business plan. Same thing when it comes to presenting and preparing for investors, regardless of how big or how small or how much money you're asking for. You're asking someone for something. You've got to give them a compelling reason to do that. Standing on a street corner with a cardboard sign isn't all that compelling. We see a lot of that, right? And it's not to say that there's anything necessarily good or bad about that, but how compelled are you to act on whatever that person is asking on that signage? Same thing here. You've got to make your argument, your request, your ask. You've got to make them want to open up their wallets and cut you some checks, okay? Same thing when you're talking about potential partners in manufacturing. If you want to go talk to a CM, if you want to go talk to a supply chain manufacturer, anything along those lines, same thing. And lastly, and certainly not least, is when you want to get in front of potential licensees. A lot of the same information is going to be beneficial, and they may ask you for other information. Keep in mind, keeping this information short, relevant, simple is what you need to get them to want to talk to you, but you also need to be prepared to have the conversation, okay? So behind those slides, it's always helpful to have some backup slides. Oh, you want to know more about this? Well, guess what? Here's that information. Oh, you would like to know more about X? Oh, I have that information. And so showing that you're prepared and ready for the conversation that you ask them for through your pitch is very important, and it shows you're on your game. Because the last thing you want to do is have that opportunity to get in front of someone to do a pitch and not be prepared for those follow-on conversations. You will lose them, and you may lose any opportunity you had to get in front of them. So keep that in mind as well. Did you have a question? No. Oh, okay. Also wanted to point out is as part of the slide deck, we were talking about the timing of the pitch and how long that should take. Another consideration is everyone's heard the term elevator pitch, correct? Okay. So an elevator pitch is essentially a condensed version of what this slide is. It's the who, what, when, where, how, and why, right, of what this is. So if you only have a brief moment to grab someone's attention, craft that message so that you can at least get in front of them, say what you need to say, hand them your business card, hand them some collateral, hand them whatever it is that you might have available. If they don't have the time to speak with you at that particular moment, hopefully they'll have time later, and maybe what you've said might stay in their mind, and they'll go back, okay, thanks very much, and then they got your stuff and they put it away, and they'll come back to it. But some point throughout the day, if the message was compelling enough, they'll remember, oh, you know what, let me go back and look through all my stuff. Where was that thing that they gave me? Oh yeah, oh, here it is, right? So again, having a multiple messaging platform and presentation are definitely what you need. A 1 minute, a 3 minute, a 10 slide presentation, a 20 slide presentation, and certainly your backup materials. What I'm holding here are Judith's backup materials to these slides. They're essentially a one sheet on the product itself. She has additional presentation materials on who she is and what her other services that she provides, as well as some other information on the artist way. So it's very good to have all of these tools available at your disposal when you're going in front of someone, regardless of where that situation is. Okay?
I'd add one point to all this, which I think is pretty critical. It's always important to know what you want and pitching what you want to them. But that's not the end all. That's not the end of your research. Finding out all those numbers for them, that's not the end of your research. You need to know who you're presenting to. Do as much research on that person to know what their interests are. What are their weaknesses? What are they looking for? How your pitch can be tailored to them and their needs. Then you've got a hook. If you just go there telling them what you want, you don't know them, you don't know what they're looking for, you got 50-50 chance of getting anything. But if you know that person, you know what they've done in the past, what they're doing now in the future, what they look for in those agreements. I mean, doing your research on them is as intensive as doing the research for your product. So.
Right. And even in terms of those numbers and those statistics going along with that, if you can argumentatively show or demonstrate, you know, this is what I think the market is, this is where you are in that market space, and this is how I can help you grow that aspect of the business by you adding my product into your portfolio, you're showing them, you're demonstrating your value to them, not just how they can help you. Because remember, licensing in particular is a two-way street. There's added value and added benefit to both parties through that. Also, in slide presentations or in pitch presentations, have multiple versions. These are not one size fits all. So the message, possibly 80% of it may be the same, regardless of who you're going to initially present in front of. But that 20% is partly the compelling message for that particular event or situation, as well as all the customized data or information that you gathered from the person that you're going to present to. So be mindful, using your words, of that, because if it looks like it's a one-size-fits-all and it's not compelling to them and it's not reading to them, they're not going to be interested. So you need to take that time and effort to craft and customize your message based on exactly who you're talking to and that particular point of interest. So you may want to have one of these for a prospective licensee or a funding representative, a team member, whatever the case may be. So start with that. Also, don't be afraid to accept feedback and criticism. So in a presentation like this, if you're getting asked questions, I would recommend having someone either from your team or just someone, a friend, there with you, if at all possible, taking notes in the back, tracking what questions were asked that may not have been represented in your presentation. What questions were asked that maybe you didn't have the answers for, that maybe you weren't quite prepared to answer. Some of those you may want to go back and revise and edit your materials accordingly if you feel that they were compelling enough. Hey, you know what, gosh, that was a great question. I wish I was more prepared, or I wish I had the information in my slide already. You want to make sure that you have the opportunity to do that. So it's not, again, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not it's set in stone, and this is my presentation, and I'm not willing to really change it or adapt it. You have to be willing to do that. And again, accepting that criticism or understanding that, again, you don't necessarily have to have all of the answers. It's great if you do, obviously, but, there are certain situations where you just may not have all of the information available to answer all of their questions. But again, that's very critical to have someone in your corner who's going to track that information for you so that you can get those answers. And even if you don't have the information right away, if you've made a compelling impact on them, you'll be able to get their information and follow up with them directly. So you're not necessarily losing that opportunity to give them the information they asked for. You may say, you know what, I apologize I don't have that today, but you know what, let me get your information, let me set up a couple of minutes of your time at some point, and I'll be sure to follow back up with you. Don't think that that's a complete negative. It's a learning opportunity for you, and it can still be an opportunity for you to reach back out and make that secondary connection. Let me get logged back in here. Any questions on any of that so far?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Salespeople do that all the time, and it's sales.
Yeah.
This is sales.
Yeah, you're selling. You're selling yourself, you're selling your product, you're selling them and their product as well. So, no more questions on that particular aspect of it? Okay, so this is our brainstorming session. You all were given an opportunity to come up and grab a handout. It is, yes, essentially what Judith presented, but this is now a worksheet for you to start thinking about what your slide deck would look like and who that slide deck may be tailored to. We give you this opportunity and this handout so that you can talk amongst yourselves, maybe get some feedback from others next to you and around you, but certainly take this information and take this opportunity to kind of at least glance over this, make a couple of notes, talk with your neighbors, do a little bit of networking. Our snacks have arrived, so you're free to go out there and grab one, and then we'll reconvene in a couple of minutes.
All right, this should work. We're here to go roaming about in the San Diego Forum. Yeah, right. Well, we could make a pit stop here to Michelle Nash Hoff. We're live on the internet right now. This is on YouTube right now. Smoke going back to there. Got anything to say to everybody? All two people that might watch this?
Well, learning how to give these pitches is real important because that's exactly what the Connect program does, this Connect Springboard program does. It works with you to make those pitches. In fact, I was a member for Connect for 3 years, and you're giving your pitch one time after another and following, getting the critiques and improving it before you finally get to go make the pitch before investors. So it's when your pitch is ready for investors is when you graduate from Connect. So it was a real interesting experience.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. Talk to you later.
No, right now I'm just doing the I have crazy. I work out 3 weeks.
We are live on YouTube now, and Mo saying we have Ruth over here and Leslie over here as you've been watching her. So, Ruth, you got anything to say? Leslie, got anything to say?
We invite you to the second Thursday of every month to the San Diego Inventors Forum, and we have here the director.
Hi everyone.
I hope you've been watching our video tonight so far on creating the perfect pitch deck, getting a lot of useful information on how you can go out and present yourself and your product in front of a variety of individuals who are going to help you be successful and get your product commercialized. If you missed tonight's meeting, again, join us next month. You can always find out about past meeting information on our website, sdinventors.org, and come out and join us sometime. Thanks.
All right. Meander about some more. Hello, gentlemen. Hi.
It's not worth your time. And don't feel.
Let's go over here and talk to Tom for a moment.
So anyway,
I can't. No, man, you're gonna go up there and announce it. They allow you to.
Tom, I hate to disturb you, but you're live now on the internet. You're live on YouTube, and you got anything to say about the San Diego Inventors Forum?
Come, join us. It's a great place to learn, be with fellow inventors, and kind of be around, like I said, other inventors and enjoy yourself.
And what do you do here?
I'm the treasurer, but I also help out wherever I can. And I sit here and I learn everything I can.
It reminds me, can I borrow $20?
Sure. I have a high interest rate, though.
High interest rates. Great. Thanks, Tom.
You got it.
All right, we're going to meander back there and shut down this stream. Thanks for watching the YouTube. Meander back over here to my station. And we'll close out and roll the end credits. And I hope that worked out okay for everybody. And I hope you have enjoyed the San Diego Inventors Forum. And please come back again, as they said. And here we go. We're going to go back to the other camera angle.
I started in there's mobile cellular phones. Texas really loud pop, really loud. You get a white spot on your fingers. It was fancy, but I love it.